one of the biggest impacts on me as an autistic is something called Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria. It is what it sounds. It's being sensitive about being rejected in a dysphoric kind of way. Now, dysphoria, if you go to the polar opposite, euphoria, when you're euphoric, it's like, wow, life's amazing. I'm on such a high. I can do anything in the world. Yeah, ride that wave of good vibe, that kind of yes, amazing feeling. Dysphoria is the opposite. It's, I am crap. The world is falling in upon me. It's a tsunami of emotions, of self-loathing, of self-criticism, and it makes you want to just shut down and flee and live in a cave and not interact with anyone, anything, ever. And it is an absolute feeling. It isn't, I just feel a little bit of it. It is very much a totality. Same with euphoria. And all of my life I remember that when I feel things or allow myself to feel things, they are in a totality. If I'm ever in a place where I look to be quite tame, I'm sitting on a lot of things I would like to be sharing, or ways I'd like to be sharing them, a particular vibe, particular energy. So, rejection sensitive dysphoria. You're meeting new people, you're sharing stuff. I said some things on the retreat that I have never articulated aloud. They've only ever sat inside my head. There is a vulnerability in that, and if people reject you for something that's important to you, it's it's a dysphoric moment. It's really, really hard. I was optimistic but people wouldn't be like that, and then we all shared pretty much important defining things about ourselves. I was quite confident that all of us on the retreat would be pretty much like that, knowing the demographic, the experiences that would be informing how we related to one another. But nevertheless, you have that kind of vibe going on. Now, as we were wrapping up the retreat, I went into a really rejection sensitive dysphoric mode. Walking up the hill after the retreat to walk back to Sir Nabas for a lift, the world collapsed in on me. I think part of it was the juxtaposition of having had a fairly euphoric few days there, but I was full of self-loathing. It was, what if these people don't want to really connect with me? And so rejection sensitive dysphoria isn't actually just about the act of rejection or the experience of rejection. It's the threat and the perception of it. It's affected me in job applications and in when jobs have concluded, as when I've been self-employed. So sometimes I've had work given to me for a year or two, then that work stops and you think, what's wrong with me? And nothing's said to you apart from, nothing is said to you, and it's just a vibe that, okay, well, we like you, but not quite enough. I applied for church ministry, late 90s, and non-stipendiary ministry in the early 2000s. Now, I wasn't outright rejected in procedural administrative terms, but the experience of it for me was absolutely catastrophic. Catastrophic? And it impacted me seriously for years. It undermined my sense of self-worth, huge sense of self-loathing. And it's been the same with job application rejections too, in like normal jobs. And it gets to the point where you think, I can't actually contribute anything. I am not employable. Even though I've had times of self-employment, I've done tours, I've gained success in doing tours, people coming on them, winning tourism awards, writing books, going on the radio, getting people listening to my stuff. So, but rejection sensitive dysphoria is crippling. and it will impact and can impact, well, permanently. I think I'm getting better at working through it and being aware of when it's incoming, but that was a biggie. Rejection sensitive dysphoria. One of the things you'll see me already commented on if you've watched much of these videos through with being on the retreat is the sensory differences on the meal times between when we were allowed to talk and silence was required. And one of the impacts for me was indeed the meal times when we were allowed to talk, especially like the first evening, that absolutely kind of exultant energy of, yes, we've got here, we're doing this event, we're connecting with other people, and there's all like the information dumping of where people have come from, who they are, journeys, that kind of like arrival energy. That was a really hard moment doing the arrival. The chap I was speaking with, he could see my face was twitching and eyes, and it was really hard trying to think and talk through that energy. So sensory overload is something you will see with a lot of autistics. Best to avoid those kind of circumstances, or if it's going to be a non-social environment, it can be that ear defenders are required. I don't use them myself. I just tend to avoid or try and deal with and then decompress after those intense social exchanges. I can deal with it, but it's really hard work, and I do need time in silence and in my own space, in my own head. Being around other people, even being in the same property as somebody else but not interacting with them, knowing that they're there, they're kind of in your head. There is a noise going on. There's an occupancy going on. There's a bit in Sherlock, the BBC Sherlock series, where Sherlock's looking at a crime scene and he yells at people to like get out of the room or stop thinking so loudly or something. Can't remember, but I remember watching that before I even thought I might be autistic, and thinking, I get that, because if I'm around other people, they're in my head, it's a noise going on, and even if they're just there, or if they're making a noise, it's really obtrusive. So sensory overload, too much going in, you can't deal with it, shut down, get out, or somehow try and deal with it and sort of offload that energy into a capacitor and discharge that capacitor's energy later on.